Could this year be one of the hottest small cars out there? A brother of the upcoming all-new VW Polo, and also, so to speak, an electric version of the Seat Ibiza, but from Cupra and a little bit more upmarket. This is here the all-new Cupra Raval, supposed to challenge the small car segment. Let's see if it works in exterior, interior, and of course all the facts and figures you need to know from the technology with Thomas and Autogefühl with 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front, which really looks, very sporty. And they use a special trick here because you can see there is the illuminated Cupra logo, and by EU law it is only allowed to do that when you combine it with the main headlamp unit. And they do that with a trick because then you have here this connection in the lower part. This is only when you have the illuminated logo. It is, by the way, a package together with the optional matrix LED. In this case, they are included because this is the VZ version. This is the top sporty spec of this vehicle, which also gets a front differential lock and also the DCC, the adaptive suspension. That, of course, gives you sportiness and comfort at the same time. But it's only available for this top version here. In both cases, with the normal suspension and with the DCC, it sits 15 millimeters lower than the new VW ID.Polo, because this is supposed to have this sportier focus. Also, it is 10 millimeters wider in the track. So once again, for a little bit sportier stance. Sporty stance also with the wheels, 19-inch, the biggest ones that are available. It starts from 17 if you want to go a little bit more comfortable and so on. And the length here is, small car segment, 4 meters and 5 or 159 inches. As I said, same platform like the VW ID.Polo. So these two are the small hatches on that platform, which is a front wheel based platform, by the way. And then there's the Škoda Epic and the VW ID Cross as their respective SUV brothers. They are a little bit longer and have a little bit more space. And they then here have rather the sporty focus. By the way, the charging flap here is in the very front. On the passenger side, AC charging 11 kilowatt and DC charging here 90 kilowatt for the small battery and 130 kilowatt for the big battery. And that leads us to the battery figures. So the small battery is an LFP battery at 37 kilowatt hours net, and the bigger battery is NMC 52 kilowatt hours net. What kind of range can we score with that? We have already driven the Škoda Epic and could take some consumption figures. So the WLTP figure for the best range version of this vehicle here is up to 450 kilometers, it's like 270 miles, something. But that is only in city driving, period. If you drive motorway, also like above 100 kilometers an hour, above 60 miles an hour, so like let's say a realistic motorway long range would be rather below 300 kilometers, below 200 miles. And that is then somewhat the spectrum of this vehicle with the big battery. In the rear you can see the light signature goes all the way through, once again in this very dramatic Cupra style, also with the illuminated logo and the large lettering, in this case the VZ logo, or BZ as the Spanish would say, and this diffuser style in the lower part, very dramatic. So you can see that the Cupra Raval is somewhat the evil twin of the ID.Polo with its more dramatic look. We'll later, of course, also talk about the prices. It is interesting that the so far electric models by the Volkswagen Group were rear-wheel based, and then optional some had all-wheel drive, but this one here again, the front-wheel based platform. Why do they do that? They want to have more space, for example, also in the trunk. You will see it has a very deep trunk. I can soon show that to you. And they also say it reduces complexity. They put everything in the front. Charging here, and then to the converter and the electric motor. And that really brings down the costs and also gives you space up, Also only have a torsion beam, because that again is on the one hand easier, but it also gives you more space in the rear. But then with the DCC, I'm really looking forward how it drives. As I said, recently we drove the Škoda Epic. That one I drove without the DCC, and that still was a very decent ride already. Let's see if we have a frunk or not. The Polo did not have one, so I don't expect any here. Yeah, it doesn't have a frunk. The Škoda Epic and the ID Cross these two will have a small frunk. The reason why they don't have a frunk here is this one. This is here for the AC. So like this climate compressor. And it has like this special housing that you see here. When it does create vibrations, that you do not hear that on the interior. And they said that, you know, they need like a powerful AC unit, an electric vehicle that you can probably also preheat the car or pre-cool the car on the interior. And then they want to have as little noise on the interior as possible. So that was the focus here, rather than giving like a small frunk. And you see, it's a rather low sitting vehicle. This color here, by the way, is called Plasma. It has like these shiny nuances, but the car itself, I think, looks really dramatic in the design. Look at also here, like, you know, also accentuations on the hood and so on. That's actually pretty cool. But of course, even more interesting will now be the interior with, actually, I can promise, a lot of surprises. But before that, just some facts that I also want to mention about the charging. 10 to 80%, how many minutes? 27 minutes for the small battery, 23 minutes, because it charges faster still, for the big battery. And here this VZ version gets 226 horsepower, under 7 seconds in the acceleration figure. So this, as I said, will be the most powerful, also the quickest version and in the acceleration. The other ones, I mean, because you have electric motor, you still have instant torque also with the lower horsepower versions. We also have a separate data comment, and also in the video description you can read all the different horsepower figures of the different versions. It's always good to have that one in the overview as well. And the top speed, VMAX, here for this version, 175 kilometers an hour, 110 miles per hour. The non-VZ versions, the normal versions, are a little bit below that, 160 kilometers an hour, 100 miles per hour. And from the exterior, just a different choice. This is here a vehicle in like a matte greenish color. Also looks pretty striking, just to show you some difference. And this one does not have the illuminated logo, but the normal Cupra logo on top. You can see it right there. It has like this dark chrome effect. And then you also don't have the other light cutting ins here. Then it's just like the blank area there. So yeah, whatever you prefer, so to speak. And about that interior here, first of all, high gloss black key fob, nothing special. Yeah, I don't like it because it collects scratches easily. And big discussion point, you can see these are these flush door handles. And if we think about all the platform brothers, ID.Polo, Skoda Epic and the ID Cross, they all have the normal physical handles. These are also physical when they turn out, I soon show you. But the only car that has the flush door handles, yes, it might look cool from the design, but people rather want to have classic door handles because they're easier to handle and they're also safer in case of a crash. Yes, the manufacturers always promise that they pop out and so on, and in most cases they probably will, especially from the trusted brands. But for example, in China, they had a lot of incidents with new brands where they maybe didn't pop out, and now these door handles in China will be forbidden for newly homologated cars from 1st of January 2027. And for existing vehicles, they need to be kind of like rebuilt, everyone that goes then on sale, from 2029. And that means these door handles will go away eventually, also worldwide, because the Chinese market has a big influence, and of course on the other car markets. So I think in this case a wrong decision, even though it might look cool. Here, I open it, then, well, I gotta say that I can grab here, I can grab here. This is like a double practical function at least. And you can see here when they are out, then they are physical, and you could also like properly pull there, you know, as a firefighter and so on. So I've seen worse, but I'm still not a fan of the flush door handles. Let's take it that way. But here you can see, then they handle actually quite well. Inside of the door, which is nice, is that on the top part, oh, Lea is right. So great to have you, like, for multiple reasons, of course. So yeah, Lea told me that I should do the door closing sound. It's actually quite good. Rear. Also, so I think solid. Then inside of the doors here, that's actually good. That's also soft touch. Then I like these copper accentuations they always have with Cupra. Then this also has an interesting structure right here. You also have an optional Sennheiser sound system, by the way. In this case, we have it because with the subwoofer in the rear. Lower door pockets are all hard plastic. And then we have different trims here available. steering wheel you can see here with copper accentuations on the inside, and this is also an animal-free material, also with perforation at the outside, and real buttons at the steering wheel. Appreciate that. Drive mode selector at the steering wheel, Cupra button for the Cupra mode at the right side, for the volume jog and so on, so going more classic again. And then seats, you have base seats in fabric, then you have these optional bucket seats which have like these accentuations in like this here with high-grade leather red, which is perforated, also here with this laser cut. That's very interesting. You could also have microfiber seats here as well. And then there are optional cup bucket seats, which are even sportier. And then they also have like kind of 3D knit. So it will be very interesting in the configurator. They have a lot of seating choices. Good material, feels really nice and soft. All animal-free interior and is very comfortable. So even if you're tall, this is a very comfortable seat, I gotta say that. So also like from the base ergonomics, because sometimes we have sporty seats which are less comfortable than normal seats, but then there are also sometimes sportier seats which are more comfortable, and this is the case here because you're housed in very well, you can drive sporty, but at the same time the base ergonomics are very good. It might be a little bit short here for tall legs, but I think it's still quite okay. So good comfort overall. Steering wheel here, manual control up and down, in and out. And the switch gear is on the right side with this column. So you more have like a classic user interface here at the steering wheel, what I really appreciate. So that even when you move from a Seat Ibiza here to the level of good Spanish accentuation, right? Our Spanish viewer will be probably proud of me. You know, Autocentración is also a huge channel here, our Spanish channel. So if you're Spanish native speaker, you can also join us for Autocentración. Rodrigo, our colleague in Spain, is always doing then the voiceover for me. Yeah, great channel and great job that Rodrigo is doing. So also best shout out to him. Yeah, so even when you're coming from a Seat Ibiza, then you're really happy here with the Cupra Raval because you know how you can control the car, you know, in most stuff. Now welcome to the interior. We have 10.25 digital instruments, large digital instruments, finally again, and here 13-inch main infotainment unit, soon more details to that. One more small remark to the seats and the materials. They are also from recycling, no matter which trim you go for, so they also try to go full circle as for that. The headroom here with 1A9642, close here, but still works for tall adults. This is here the version with glass roof. You can go without or with glass roof, both possible. And you can also apply this shade right here. At the moment it's not working because the car is here in the studio. It doesn't have like the, you know, ignition fully on. But there's like a shade you can then apply for really, really hot days if you have this glass roof option. Then materials here on the dashboard. This has this 3D structure that looks quite cool. Also somewhat soft touch for the dashboard. Has like a neoprene style somewhat. And here the copper accentuations, which is typical for Cupra. Glove box is also dampened. And this also here a nice spot for a charging card, for example, you can put right here, important. Then this is also covered left and right. It's still quite hard though. Flying middle console. Underneath you have two USB-C chargers and again this same 3D structure, so to speak, as the lower part. Now there comes like this cable trick because some prefer inductive charging because it's cleaner. On the one hand, on the other hand, it's not that good maybe for the battery inductive charging. And if you have like a map app running, it might still overheat. There is inductive charging capacity here, also with a you know, ventilation hole, it seems. However, I prefer cable charging, some other too. And what you can do then is you can put the cable here in the lower part in the USB-C charger, and then there thought about like a small hole right there, and then you can push the cable through here, like this. I mean, some might say, why didn't they put the USB-C chargers there in the first place? They told me that space-wise, that kind of like the space you need behind that. So for the inductive charging pad, the cooling function and so on, so it wouldn't have fitted in the right direction. And then you can use the phone and plug it in like this here from this cable from underneath. So is this not the, oh, this is the, probably the older one. this here with USB-C from the newer one. And then you can put your phone right there. So yeah, and I would prefer actually that solution. So it might look a little bit clumsy in comparison to inductive charging, but I would actually prefer this solution. You could theoretically also do it like this and put it upright in here. This is also what they thought about. Then it stands like this, and there's an older photo of us here. Do we look so much older right now? I'm not sure. So, but here, the only thing is when I then unplug it again, then, you know, I have to pull the cable a little bit again, plug it in again, put it down. Yeah, so maybe I just throw it in there. Yeah. This about the charging stuff, you know, very important. Then here the cup holders, they are not really adaptive, but I have two different sizes. This one here is soft for your elbow, fold up, and much more space underneath. So you can also house a lot of things right there. Then, as I said, a lot of hard keys at the steering wheel. I like that. Hitting the ignition is here at the steering wheel. This is a prototype version here, and it's not probably driving it. That's why we also have some error messages in there and so on. And the air vents are here still with the manual control, also with the copper acceleration. Oh, and nice clicking sounds. The only thing I do miss here is physical dials for the climate unit. The ID.Polo does get that. It's like then here and like plop, plop, plop. That's like almost how in the ID.Polo I control the unit. And here, this one here still gets the sliders. And that is something I don't quite understand, because they do have a new backend. It's now, you know, new backend of that whole software. And the instruments totally look the same, but why have they kept the very same layout and these sliders that no one really liked for this all-new vehicle? That is something I don't quite understand. And now the digital instruments, they have a completely new design. Look at that. It looks pretty futuristic, like from a race car, a little bit like this. And you can also switch through the views. So that's actually quite cool. Like the new design. And of course, because they are larger, once again, if you compare it to the Cupra Born. And then we have the main infotainment system. Yeah, as I said earlier, with the sliders, or press here, plus minus. Seat heating is here, at least in the first level. This also the Apple CarPlay view like this, so a good full integration. Other than that, you have also like a slide down menu where you can, for example, deactivate like the EU speed chime law easily. And you can also go to the Cupra internal main menu that looks like this then. Here also, you know, you could also activate the seat heating right there. The overview is actually not too bad, and it seems also a little bit quicker than before. And by the way, Lea is not only holding the camera, but also the light. Oh, Darth Lea is here. So
Lea, yeah, is there Lea?
Is there no Darth Lea? Doesn't exist yet.
Star Wars.
You did not watch Star Wars? Well, she's excused because the new Star Wars movie, and not Kanan. Definitely not, definitely not. But
we will watch it, yeah.
Yeah, we will watch the old Star Wars movie together. Okay. So this is Darth Lea on demand, or maybe also, the daughter of Mace Windu, Lea, on demand. So yeah, so definitely to bring you some more light here in this rather dark shooting today. And here we got the second vehicle for you with the cup bucket seats. This is also what they mean here with this 3D knit. So it has like a three-dimensional knit on top of that, and the shoulder acceleration is even more extreme. And they are, let's say, I mean, the fabric is really nice to sit on. Isofix, by the way, also on the front seat, even with the cup bucket seat. That is also important to know. However, they are a little bit stiffer from the bolstering underneath, I feel. So considering they are so racing style, they're still comfortable, I would say. But definitely the normal bucket seats are definitely more comfortable than the cup bucket seats right here. So if sportiness is more something for you, then it would be this. But if comfort is the best focus for you, then I would rather go with the normal bucket seats. And we still have to check out the base seats. They have the separate head restraint still. Haven't taken a look at that one yet, but interesting to see these differences here already. And a third car from the exterior is Century Bronze Matte, also very spectacular color. And here the seats, these here are once again then the normal bucket seats, the normal sport seats, but not with the all high-grade leatherette. Same form, same ergonomics, but this one then is a mix of here this part and this part is fabric, and this front part and this upper part then is Dynamica microfiber. Also pretty cool. Honestly, I would have wished when it was like, it would be full microfiber, like all the way through. That way it's a mix. As I said, the same ergonomics. So I would say it has equal comfort to the full leatherette seats. It's more a question of which material you prefer. The leatherette seats maybe can be cleaned easier. They have perforation. Then this one here with the fabric, yeah, it's a good question. They are both equally good. I would say it's then just like a material preference. Now to the rear seats. First of all, the rear doors, they are hardback in the top in contrast to the front. Then we have these nice copper accentuations by Cupra again. This then, let's say a little bit softer, hardback than here in the lower door pocket. In this case then, once again with the leatherette, with perforation, also for the rear, Isofix outside each. You cannot fold down here anything, but theoretically it is for 5 people, but sitting in the middle part is tricky. Let's take it that way. Yeah, but how it is like on the outside position space-wise. So see here, it does exactly fit for let's say 4 tall adults, legroom-wise when I'm driving and headroom-wise. See here, yeah, it's also not too high from the feet, although electric platforms always have the problem that they have to put the battery underneath. See here, the angle is maybe not ideal, but I think it's still okay. And headroom-wise, also fits with one A9 6x2. So yeah, it definitely could be worse from the space offering right here. So the seats are also, let's say, to the rear, not too voluminous, although they look extremely, sporty and so on. And different seats are, of course, available. I like these copper accentuations here in the rear, and you do have 2 USB-C chargers, which, by the way, deliver 90 watt. So it's also very powerful than when the kids, for example, charge their phones then here in the rear. Now we take a look at the trunk. Remember, due to this torsion beam construction, they say they could leave a lot of space then, and also everything of the tech is in the front. Let's take a look here. Open it right here. Normal manual hatch, that's good. And 430 liters, it says. You don't see it at first glance, but look at that now here. And we know it from the ID.Polo here. Look at that. The cabin trolley fits underneath. So that's unusual for a small car indeed. You could also take out this whole cover if you like. And here, this is the optional subwoofer from the optional sound system. If you would not have that, and if you would not have the tire fit, then you would use the whole thing here. And I also asked them, there will be no special cover for the subwoofer or so on. So yeah, you should just be gentle. You leave this one here if you want to load through, 2/3, 1/3 split, or you can also move it into the lower position like here. Then of course you have more height. And if we now remove this top cover here, I can also better measure that. There we go. And we take out the famous Autogefühl measuring stick. That's why I'm German. And then here you can take a look right there. This is like 1 meter or 40 inches in the width. Then the normal length here is about 26 inches or 66 centimeters. And the height here with this part in the lower setting, 33 inches or 83 centimeters. That's of course pretty cool. And you could also, of course, go even higher when you fold this one up, because then you can go all the way below. And then we're here at about like almost 45 inches or 1 meter 13. So that's very impressive, and you could carry anything then in the height as well. And here the total length to the front seats about 55 inches or 1 meters and 40. So that's very impressive. One of the best things in the practicability about this vehicle for sure. I think what's quite certain, most will probably agree to that. If not, tell me in the comments. I think it is a very dramatic look on the exterior, and this kind of can make you feel cool, although you're driving a small car. And you know already from the Skoda Epic, and that was the SUV brother, and also from the VW Polo, we've already driven that one, that even the normal versions of this platform here drive extremely sporty and they're super fun to drive. So I'm looking forward to, especially with this version, with a little bit wider track, with the DCC and the sportier setup than the Polo, how sporty that one is actually driving. So really seems to be some kind of city racer. But what about the pricing? It will start a little bit above the VW ID.Polo with the small battery, so about 1,000 euros more expensive. Let's see how much extra equipment we get there included maybe. 26,000 euros will be the entry price for the small battery. If you now think about this car as it stands here right now, big battery, VZ Top Sports version, top horsepower figure, some extras on the interior and so on. Also like with the ID.Polo, I would expect a price of about 38,000 euros, something like that. I hope they don't crack the 4 in the beginning, so it will not be cheap at all in the top horsepower spec. And then you might think, wait a minute, like for 40,000 euros, you could already get maybe an EV with bigger batteries. That might be the trick here about this one. I think it makes more sense to go for the bigger battery in general, because I'm not a fan of buying a car for one single use case. I'm more a fan, I think also more sustainable when you can buy one car and can do more things with it and you don't need 2 or 3 or 4 cars, you know. So that was my idea behind it. That's why I would always opt for the bigger battery. But there might be other use cases. If you maybe have really just the only one city use case, then you might as well also go for the small battery. Looking forward to your comments. And now, of course, it's time to check out the other platform brothers like the VW ID.Polo or the Skoda Epic.